All right. What is going down, y'all? Let's see. Blue Dober Doc. Timothy Wu. That's my name. God bless you. How you doing? Welcome, welcome. If you're on Instagram, I'm live streaming the phone and then we're recording it in the school group. So exciting because this is going to end up being a training video that goes just into the library. Yes. Gary, good to see you, brother. I'm happy you're here. Gary the Glue Toper, keeping the alliteration live. I like it. So if you're joining us today, we're going to be I'm going to straight up be honest with you guys. My body hurts. I'm kind of out of shape. I squeezed into my last racing kit and got in here still. But I've got a problem that a lot of you all have, which is my knee kind of hurts. My back's kind of hurting. This glute's off because I've been sitting in this chair working. I've been driving. I've been, hunkering at home because the weather. All these reasons start to creep up and show up as pain. So today we're going to walk through the order of operations that we do here in glute doping, which is on the bike assessment, because if you do the glute doping but you don't ride a bike, what's the point? Then we're going to identify stuff that hurts and doesn't look right on my body. I'm literally going to take the band I'm kind of warming up with here. We're going to hop on the table and literally apply just a couple of the glute doping exercises that we use for all riders to both get them out of pain and to unlock more power. So first, I'm going to transition and bring in a whiteboard. Like, we're going to open the door. I'm a teacher at heart. My mom would be so proud. Okay. Ta-da! All right. If you don't understand these quick points here before we get started, then it doesn't really matter because your thinking's not going to be in the right place. So we're going to get this going right here with what we call our first four. So there's a longer form video of this on our school group or on YouTube, but here's the quick version. All right. Because I wore the fast racing helmet, the quick version. You need to understand that in your human physiology, it's your nervous system that's king and in charge of what all happens. So if you want watts to get to the pedals so that you go fast, you got to make sure the brain is connected and make sure the stuff happens correctly. So if you can ride a bike, congratulations, you have that skill, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we understand the nervous system, meaning your brain, your spinal cord, and all of the nerves that go to your whole body is the communication network from which we're going to try to get your body to do stuff. Yeah, absolutely. If you're having a hip replacement in a month, we need some glutes on that one. Great comment coming from the Instagram. Point number two is really important if you're dealing with any pain, if you're encountering limitations in your training, like you can't get through a breakthrough, or just like you feel like crap all the time. I'm just going to be real. Sometimes it's like, I don't feel great. So rather than get stuck in confusion and trapped in analysis paralysis and trying to go down the rabbit hole, I'll flip the video. The board's backwards. I don't know how to flip the video. We'll worry about that later. I'll read it to you. Here's your three problems. You're only going to have mobility problems, stability problems, or motor control problems. So I'm sorry that it's flipped. I'm not techy enough to flip that around, but I'm just going to read it to you. So the first category is just mobility problems. What we're concerned by here is just your joint range of motion. So if like your knee can't go all the way straight and then can't bend all the way, that's a mobility problem. It's supposed to do that. So that's simply there. Why it doesn't bend is the next category, but we'll worry about that later. Instability, which is like this really popular word right now, it's cycling, winter training, do stability training. Most people don't really understand what that means. In glute doping, we have very clear definitions. Stability, we're talking about the muscle's capacity to generate force to move a joint. So in your knee, if your quad turns on and generates force to straighten your leg out, that force provides some stability to the knee joint. So this is very simply something we measure in like Newton meters of force here in like Dr. PT land. Now, this last category of problems is called motor control, otherwise known as technique. And there's two layers here. There's like your automatic motor control that happens just because like that's your technique over time. And then there's this voluntary thing you kind of like think about that's brand new. So for example, walking is very reflexive. You just kind of do it. You can eat a burrito and ride a bike or talk to people. You can walk. That's pretty reflexive and automatic. With voluntary is learning a new skill. So, for example, if you are not a musician and then you pick up, what do we have in here today? We've got a violin. There's all sorts of props. If you pick up a violin for the first time, you're like, okay, this is not natural. Like, what do I do with this? There's some like skill and technical development that needs to be developed in order for you to do well with the implement. And that's our thinking here at the Glute Doping Lab related to your bike. So motor control, aka how all the parts of your body work together to generate power and speed on the machine and handle the bike well, is actually where all the solutions lie, because that's where your problems show up. So don't be fooled. Like if you have some kind of scary diagnosis, like patellar tendonitis or IT band syndrome or patellofemoral pain syndrome, and like, if it's some kind of anatomy location pain and then the word syndrome, don't be alarmed. Those aren't really diagnoses that give you solutions. These three categories are where your problems are at. I'll demonstrate those when I start showing that I got these problems right now. So here's where the third and fourth point come in that I'm going to walk myself through that you can take yourself through. So the third one is just called, what are your symptoms? So for example, I put in air quotes here, the last patient we had in here, they said they're having some on and off pain with pedaling. So that was a frequency of their symptom. And then they called it short and sharp, almost like a burning sensation. And I told this writer, great, you can't be wrong about describing your own symptoms. So congratulations. And you need a place to process when you feel this stuff. So whenever you feel these symptoms, I want you to understand that your brain is trying to tell you, number 4, I need a request for change. So too often we associate pain as immediately correlated with like damage, I'm broken, I got huge problems, when in reality, it's just your body and your brain telling you we got to change something here. So practically speaking, when we're looking at how your body generates power, right? Brain says, I want to close the gap. Because if I don't, I'm not making the front group of the ride, whatever the situation is. Your brain up here is going to send out that order. Like, I'm going to order a 500 watts for about 10 seconds. I need to get there. How your body fulfills that order for the power is what we see as technique or bad technique and that whole category. But if you understand this order here that your brain sends out how to generate the power, the result is what you do onto the bike, we can influence the middle here. And the problem most of us have is naturally, because you're on a bicycle machine invented, I don't know, 180 years ago, someone correct me on that, they find it out. The nature of the machine is you become very quad dominant, aka when your brain decides how to recruit the power, what muscles to use to generate the power, and overwhelming percentage comes from a muscle that's not designed to do that job. Quads are designed for leg speed, top end acceleration, and regulation of the power from the glutes through the knee joint to the foot. That's their job, and you still need them. But first, you need the glutes. So when we talk about order of operations, I'm going to rotate this board. Let me not crash everything in here. Okay, that'd be great. The order of operations that your body decides to generate that signal and power is the same that we go about treating things in glute doping. Spine, core, glutes, knees, feet. Meaning if you're having a problem with knee pain, your symptoms are knee pain land. Your problems in the segments prior, spine, core, and the glutes. You start working on these first 3, building up the capacity and the abilities they need in each category, which we'll define. Then in the knee land, we'll start feeling better, both because your brain is a little more safe and trusting, putting power through your knee joint after these first 3 segments are working, as well as the fact that like you just train your knees to put that much power through. This is much more like a differential in your race car than a door hinge. Okay, so that's a quick flyover lesson in our school community, school.com/glute doping lab. You can join for free. We have long form videos on this stuff, and all these exercises are real videos in there you can go watch. And I'm going to take just the first 2, single leg march and just clamps. And I'm going to go with my own body on the bike. I'm going to show you where some technique faults show up on my own body. I'm going to get off the bike. I'm going to fail my own exercises, which is very fun Because too often everyone thinks because I filmed it great once, I always keep this ability. I'm gonna fail these two. And then I'm gonna get better at it with you guys. I'm gonna show some places that I can quickly get some gaps filled in my core ability and my glute activation. And I'm gonna watch some of my pain and some of my glute activation kind of switch around as I get back on the bike. So we're gonna get started with that and go from there. So in the glute doping lab, Gary, I'm glad you're still doing well. You are on the glute doping program, so a lot of this stuff should be good review for you. All right. No, I'm not on a power trainer. I'm on straight up rollers. So to be like, there's the rollers. You see that, Gary? I'm on the rollers. Instagram, rollers. Now, two reasons. One, this bike's not compatible with the smart trainer because I don't really know how to make it that way. Two, rollers, if you don't crash on them, are actually a better way of assessing your core stability and control in a stationary setting than anything else, because if you crash off the rollers, it's quite embarrassing. So let's not do that. Okay. And computer turned off. All right. Gary, how's the shot? You're my man. You see it? Okay. So, yes. All right. When we're looking at your technique on the bike, we train every rider at glute doping to look at the order of operations. So spine, core, glutes, knees, feet. So spine for cycling is not this perfect sitting posture, arched back, I'm back squatting posture. No, thank you. It's actually a posterior pelvic tuck and actually a hinging at the hip. And you don't have this at thoracic spine extension. You actually have to bend over. One of the weird things about cycling is you have to get good at this posture, but not rely on the fact that you have arms to support you there. So right away, I can get into the spine posture. That's fine. But I notice I'm personally struggling with keeping the core tucked. So naturally, we tend to kind of sit in this neutral pelvis. And we're taught this, it's comfortable, but it's not the technique for riding. You actually have to increase the posterior pelvic tilt, and it opens up some space right here so I can actually get into the cycling position. So the first thing I see most common on riders when they come in the office is they can't maintain the core tuck. They don't own it, they can't do it, they can't brace, breathe, and pedal at the same time. So why do we care? Because the core tuck is the key to the kingdom of the power of the glutes, baby. Like, if you actually just tuck the core a little bit, it co-contracts your glutes to generate more power. It really does. So on my right side, I probably about able to get maybe 70, 80% of what I feel like I can turn that sucker on, maybe a little more power. With my left side, which for some history, in August 2019, I got hit by a car on this hip and this shoulder while training for the Redlands Classic. And I was lucky. Inch to the right, I wouldn't probably be here. But because it was a glancing blow, I just hit the dirt really fast. It dissipated all my energy. So I didn't break it in my shoulder, I didn't break my hip, but it beat up these two joints to the point where today they're still a little atrophied. This hip glute is actually physically smaller because of the injury. And to this day, I still have trouble getting that side to activate. It's just something I'm bearing with and I'm working with almost 5 years on now. But in that time, I was able to take the same glute doping exercises I'm going to do right now and build my body up to the point where I could keep it in a window of performance to actually go do that race a couple years later. So that's your boy. You see that helmet cam, Gary, hidden right there? This guy right there, tucked in 2022. So it took me personally about 3 years to go from my left leg doesn't work for cycling right now, build up the fitness, get the body that could work properly again, all the way up to a 5 watt per kilogram FTP Right, I was 130 pounds, 293 FTP, like pretty good. But it took time. And it started just this drill. So I noticed that when I was riding my bike, I struggled to keep the posterior pelvic tilt. So for definitions, let me get a good angle. We're looking at this kind of pelvic tilt here. The easiest way I like to teach is imagine you have like a bowl of water. You grab an old helmet, a bowl of water. And if I have that bowl of water, I'm going to dump it out the front. It's called an anterior pelvic tilt. This is your duck butt. Like, okay, we're not trying to do that. Cycling is all in a posterior or posterior pelvic tilt position. And that sits upon the saddle, right? And if you're dumping all the way forward, you can't generate any power from the glutes because your back's arched out. Actually, it doesn't turn them on. It doesn't work well. But if you tuck the other way, posterior pelvic tilt, not only does it engage the most, it's called medial lower, so the middle lower fibers that direct your power forward, and it creates more space for the pedaling right here. So often we're trying to like hit the hip to the thigh to the belly, and we're so worried about that position. You know, I got my little Tada hair going on, so I'm going to bring it up. 165 millimeter cranks. Here's some. It's a real thing. I've been running them for 5 years now. And all of it is to try to open up the space of right here in the hip. Because more smooth circles with a stable platform for the pelvis in the front means the glute power can be directed in a force that's called the glute piston. So if you understand how a piston works, we're firing energy from the top and it's pow, pow, pow. This glute piston technique we're trying to train on the bike becomes the foundation of how you generate your zone 1 and 2 power. So our first goal for all glutopers in the first 30 days to maybe 60 days, depending on the severity, is to get out of pain, because that's the simple part, and then build a foundation where 80% of your zone 2 watts come from the glute piston power. So if you can't do the core tuck though, none of this matters. So let's check the standard. Starting off, you want to make sure that that little natural arch in your back, you put the hand underneath, crush that hand using your kind of deep core abdominal muscles. And that pressure right here knows that I'm bracing my deep core and I'm still breathing. This part alone, about 80% of people who come through here fail this. They cannot brace and breathe. And so if you understand that cycling is an aerobic sport, you need oxygen coming into your metabolism to drive the chemical reactions for energy. Oh, you gotta keep breathing. The pedaling part is this. Can you keep the leg go all the way straight? Tap the heel on the floor. Boop, you wouldn't crush a ladybug. I like ladybugs, they're cute. Bring it all the way back up. And then you come back to straight. Not here, that's cheap. Come to there. So our standard glute doping is 2 minutes. And I think I said one time, you should be able to sing a song for the whole 2 minutes. And I called out the Star Spangled Banner, but it's only 1:56. So I'm not going to sing. I'm just going to teach about some of the technique faults. So technique fault number 1 is going too fast. Slow it down. Speeding is cheating. Technique fault number 2 is bringing this leg up to compensate to make it easy on your core. You want maximum tension in those lower abdominals the whole time. Problem number 3 is the big one. Instead of learning to adjust your technique to keep the effort going for longer, y'all just quit and be like, oh, it's terrible, doc. Oh, so no, you gotta learn to ride your sinking ship to the bottom of the ocean and still come across the line first. You know, I've only won like 7 times in a lot of racing years, which isn't a great ratio. And a lot of them were like by this much, simply because I knew how to just keep the effort and the technique under control longer than the person next to me. I didn't necessarily have the good enough fitness to do it. So the other thing that starts to happen, and now I'm in the 2nd minute, is I start to arch my back out. That deep pressure I'm feeling in my core, which is my transversus abdominis, my psoas and iliacus trying to control my hip flexors, my rectus abdominis trying to keep all that together. It's getting very, I'm trying to control it. So I realize after doing my own assessment, I'm good at 2 things still. I've got the motor control. I can keep it slow. That's not my problem. But as I'm keeping it slow, I don't have the strength for it. I'll be honest. And if you had laser eyes, you noticed the upper floor of my abdominal started to kind of pooch out, and I couldn't keep the upper abdominal pressurization in when I got desperate. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's something I'm going to work on. The second thing we do is the other half, what's called the glute core cross. So notice that if you look at the front and the back side of your body, the core and the glutes are opposite the hip flexors and the low back. So often as cyclists, we have achy low back, tight hip flexors. The problem's on the other diagonal. Loose glutes that don't activate and a core that can't keep the core tucked for the glutes to lever off of. So I suspect that my left glute is not pretty. So if you understand glute doping or followed us for long enough, you want to test. So if you've never heard of glute doping before, great. If you've seen people use the bandy thing to get muscles turning on, that's step 2, good job. Here's the next one. I got a hard guy, like this is very difficult. And I got an easy one. I want to figure out why my left glute's not turning on. If I go for the hard one and my glute tries to turn on and fails, and then something else turns on, I might have an activation problem. The strength's there, I just can't get the phone number right. It's Pennsylvania 65000. I called the wrong number. But if I go to the easy band and I can't get the glute to turn on, then I know it's much more like, well, maybe I don't have the activation control down in the easier ranges. So we're trying to figure out, can I get my glutes to turn on at hard power, at easy power, and can I blend it in across the whole range? So, to be honest, I'm kind of weak right now, so I'm just gonna go straight for the easy one, which is fine. So I'm gonna put it on. As I always recommend, Tim, Dr. Tim, how do I position my clams to get better glute activation on the bike? Well, Photoshop yourself from your fastest, coolest riding picture your friend took, and then Photoshop yourself on the side. That's all you gotta do. So once you're in this position, you now have the capacity to replicate the demand of this left glute in the cycling position. And I wore the helmet for a reason. Like, here we are. This is turning left. Okay, so Clam 30-30s is the name of our glute doping standard. The 30-30s goes like this. The first 30 seconds is to check your form. Don't assume you're great at it. I'm a musician and a music teacher for a long time as well. I tell my students, practice don't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if you practice the drumming with the crappy technique on the sticks for a year, you're the world's best at that crappy technique. This winter, you're putting in 5,000 reps an hour on Watopia or on Trainer Road or on whatever. And if you don't have, oh, I can't do it. Hold on, cramp. Oh, I want to look cool. I'm sorry. Gary, I'm getting humbled. I wanted to look cool, but no, that hurt. Okay, let's try it again. There it is. While I'm holding the form, if I keep the core tucked, the glute turns on and I can hold the band. As soon as I relax the core and my butt kind of rotates out, it's starting to cramp. And that is wild to me. But if you experience this on your own, and I see someone kind of nodding their head like I've been there, you are on the right track because your brain is trying to decide, do I use the hamstrings, the low back, or the glutes to do this? And we want to tell the body, glutes, use the glutes. They don't die. They have power. They'll always do the stuff. We want this. So that's why it's glute doping training. We want to train your body to just do that every time, right? Like I used to get scared when people bumped me on the bike. And then I went through some training where I had friends just bump me every ride for a year. All of a sudden, I didn't really get scared of getting bumped anymore. And if that sounds like too much work for you, that's how this works. But I was like, so there's a repeatable process I can do that fast tracks my body's training to tolerate these demands, therefore giving the neurological safety to ride better. Sign me up. That's easy. So what we do in the next 30 reps is something I want to correct. I got a lot of y'all that come at me and they're like, well, I just quit at 20. And I'm like, it said 30. I didn't mean do 30 amazing ones. I said get to 30 come hell or high water. Like, okay. And you want to see what your body does. What is that, 5? Oh, crap. You want to see what your body does to get there. So on number 7, if I keep my core locked in like a rickety pile of Jenga bricks, okay, I'm still there. My glute still has some of the power. But as I hit rep 11 or 12 or something, I feel my hip flexors starting to want to creep up and take over. Do not quit. You have 2 tools to play with. 1, more core tuck. Core tuck more, that glute comes right back online. The other one is called co-activation. You need to turn something else on. 2 levers to pull there. Push into the floor, gives you some rotation in the core. Oh God, ow. Okay, that works. Or the second one is roll the body weight onto this leg and try to crush this leg into the ground like that. What happens is you're bilaterally, you're both spreading the legs, although this one looks like it's just not moving. And this sends double the signal from the core and the glute to that left one, and I can still keep it going. So you want to go to the actual endpoint. Okay, that's it. And then I'm done. And then we go to the other side. Okay, so what happens is now we go to the other side. They're gonna tag off of each other. So often y'all message me and go, hey, do I just double down on the left side because my right one's so good? I go, no. Glute doping, we teach standards and limiters. So if my right leg, or my left leg, sorry, can barely do the blue band for 30 reps, with compensations basically every 5 reps I gotta navigate, then if I go to the right side, it's way easier, smoother, faster, stronger, confident. I don't progress the right side. I work at the left until it's as good as my right, and this starts to normalize our body's ability to generate power bilateral here, both sides. This naturally increases your pedal balance. I'm not trying to work on your pedal balance on the bike by like staring at the number forever. We want it to be a confirmation that your body has been trained to generate that power equally. So, as we teach in Glute Doping Lab, test, retest. Don't guess, assess. I would love to say I can tell you the best parts about my body. I know it personally, but if I have a colleague of mine come in here and assess me, they're like, your hip is off like 5 degrees. I'm like, what? But I'm the doc. I have the videos and I'm looking at myself and I'm so biased. So biased. So there's value in having someone who's not you, who knows a lot more about this, or our other coaches, us, help you figure this out. But here's what you want to look like, or look at. Excuse me. Gary, if I crash and fall and I'm unconscious, our address is 409 East Palm Avenue, Redlands. You can call the fire department. They're only a mile away. Okay, brother, I'm counting. Yeah. Oh, right away. Okay, let's get some numbers here. I'll dictate them. Oh, don't crash. Okay. Okay, right away, I notice my body wants to sit in a posterior pelvic tilt a little bit easier right away. I'm not trying to fake y'all out by just doing it. Like, it kind of just wants to sit there. Meaning, because I turned on these muscles, their attention is brought to the job of maintaining the posterior pelvic tilt and keeping my breathing going. Even on this second try, I'm not as out of breath yet. Notice? And that's because I'm getting some more lung expansion in these bottom lobes. So fun fact, if you've got ribs, you've got lungs there. And if you ain't breathing there, you ain't getting enough oxygen. You're not getting enough oxygen, all the rest of your efforts are worthless. Because what's the point? If you got great power, but you can't breathe, then you only got great power for as long as you can breathe. So I find for this time of year, if you're running your endurance training, trying to build some base blocks, trying to get some mitochondria to grow in your muscles, developing the glute doper core stability and the core tuck and the glute piston makes that system maximally efficient. Because it increases how much lung capacity I can breathe from, how much control of my muscles for stability, I can use outside of breathing. And because I'm generating more power, rather a larger percentage of my power from the glute muscles, they have the best aerobic cost fuel efficiency of any muscle. Like these glutes got the gas mileage of a Prius, but they got the power of that big F350 dually. That's what we want. Because right out here in the quads, there's top end speed. I'll be honest, this is top end speed. Quads, hamstrings. But they're like a Ferrari on 1 gallon of gas. It's good for that 17 miles. But it's just fast as can be. But as soon as they're out of gas, they absolutely cramp and fail. And so that's why when we get a little more glute opening involved, to keep the core tuck, it naturally turns on the glutes more. I'm sitting here at 80 RPM, 175 watts. This is chill. Nose breathing. And my fitness on Strava today was 9, not even 10. 9, because of how out of shape I am. But as I'm starting to build back up, which I want to encourage anyone who's like, okay, I'm trying to build back up. All of a sudden I'm on the gram, I see the racing doctor guy. I'm not a racy guy. No, this is an old kid. I'm already out of breath. Dr. Tim is not in shape. But I'll tell you something. The technique and the knee pain I was dealing with last week is already going away simply because I'm putting a little more glute activation before I drive and making sure that I spend a majority of my time not on the glutes yet, but I focus on the core first. Because the more core breakthrough and foundation I can build, the better glutes I can get. So now once we're on the bike, there's a couple tests I like to have riders work on here. Oh, crap. Oh, did not crash. Ugh. No, I'm not editing that out. That's staying in. That's fun. Okay. No, yeah. How good a sell would it be if I'm like, glute building makes you able to handle whatever happens? And then I just freak out when I like barely fall off. That'd be hilarious. Okay. 2 tests. One is, can you get the glutes to feel like the dominant power generator? Meaning simple bro math. If I'm doing 100 watts, can 80 of them be from the glutes? Translate that up to 200 watts and 160 or something. The point is, if you're listening to your body like a soundtrack, are the glutes the loudest instrument? And if they are, the assumption and truth is that they're also doing their job to stabilize the pelvis and stabilize the knee. That's what the glute does. It attaches to your iliac crest of your pelvis, attaches to your femur. So its job, just by the nature of being on, is to put you in a biomechanically advantaged and efficient pedal stroke. The one lever you can pull to get more or less glute activation is how much core tuck. So here's no core tuck. I got my duck butt going. It's very hard to ride, very unstable. I tuck that sucker all the way, maximum pelvic tuck. Instantly, my glutes are operating like a piston. So now, the test is this. Go down to your low cadence. Get the phone ready, Gary. If I crash, you're calling the fire department. Cool, got you, bro. All right, 60. Okay, here's easy to get the glutes going. It's slow, it's in their window. If I keep them dominant, I don't change my gear, I slowly bring it up to 70. Glutes are still dominant, 75. Dominant, 80. Dominant, 85. That's the sweet spot. I love an 85. That's like the glute sweet spot. Add a little core tuck. Oh, yeah. 220 watts at 83 RPM right now. But now we go to 90. 90 starts to be the glute drop off. I get a little coming. I'm at 250 watts now. But in 100, now it almost feels like a 50-50 split between my glutes and my quads. My glutes are doing the power. My quad is taking that power and delivering it like a pizza straight through the knee joint. This is 268 watts. at 100 RPM. Same here. Filippo Ganna did his like time trial world championship at 105. Here's 105. At 105, 110, that's kind of the upper limit that we find. If you can keep the glutes feeling dominant in the background while you're doing this, then you got the glute over piston technique dialed from 60 RPM to 110. Racers, 120. There you go. Oh, that sucks. But that's 350 watts right now. Not bad. Same gear, same glutes, same control. All but the power curve. Start working on that. Okay. Ooh. So, as you're going up that power curve, if the glutes start to drop off, all you do is tuck the core more. And drive by kind of pushing down through the hip, through the heel a bit more, get them back on. You can go either to a harder gear for a few seconds to create a greater demand for the glutes, get them to turn on a bit, and then settle back into an easier gear, get cadence back up. Woo. Okay, no fire truck necessary, Gary. So, I'll catch my breath for a second. Okay. So yeah, go back to it now. I take this, put it back on. I'm gonna go retest the bike. Hear me, everyone, if you're still here. The bike is supposed to affirm the glute doping training and accelerate it. Like, it's supposed to accelerate it. So if you can put your body in a position where you actually ride the bike, and for every hour you put into it, it actually trains your glute connections dominance to be even stronger. When you get to that point, every single ride starts to compound. You're not just like burning my body out and trying to get back again. You're going, okay, good power, I know how to generate it. I recover my race car engine. Good power, and I accelerate it. And we want to see this upward trending curly Q pattern. You will never have long-term success with I'm great, dead. I'm great, gone. Never happened. So now that I got my breath back, standing here with just the band on, I can feel two things. One is a larger percentage of surface area of my glute in my brain map. I feel on more. So often we forget to teach people about that. Your brain has a map for the sensory areas of your body, and it's not evenly distributed real estate. Your brain prioritizes a sensory map for your face, your hands, your feet, and your genitalia. These are the most sensory sensitive parts of your whole body. Right here, that square inch, not much real estate in the brain. Right here, not much real estate in the brain. So when you're doing more glute doping, the first thing we care about is that your vision opens up. Wow, Dr. Tim, I had no idea my glute went all the way from the side and under to my butt. I was like, what do you think your butt was made of? It's glutes. Like, ta-da! But as soon as you realize, okay, I can turn all of this on, now can I get more power out of more of that muscle? So if you're brand new to this, it's your first time trying some of the glute doping stuff, congratulations, you get to experience the low-hanging fruit, massive performance jump that everyone gets in the first 21 days of trying our training for free in our school group. Why? Because you're starving and thirsty in glute and core activation. So a little bread and water, you're just, whoa, it turns on. But if you have, your body has that response, then good, you know, okay, I have that problem in connecting and controlling and activating. So the second way you get a lot of benefit right away is, let's say I've got 300 watt glutes, but my brain can only call upon 200 of them. But over the course of 3 weeks of just doing the 2 exercises I showed today, all of a sudden they can access all 300 of the watts that are already there. Voila, you have more power. Now, fast track that into your training program where it says go do 2 hours zone two, it says 200 watts. It's like, well, if for 2 hours, my body's default way of generating power is glute dominant in a percentage capacity and feeling capacity, and my technique is piston driven as my zone two power. This makes you maximally efficient biomechanically and metabolically. That's what we want. So now I've cooled off a little bit, literally cooled off in my standing here, so I'm not using them. I want to see now what's the new kind of resting potential of these glutes to fire. So I'm going to go back to my problem side, which is my left. Oh, it feels good to lay down. Okay, that's just being a dad, really. Oh, finally, something's always a chore. Okay. Oh, yeah. You know, I could totally lie, like, it's amazing. It's about 20% better. It's not great, but it's significantly better where I want it to be. I have more control of this back corner, fibers of my glute. I still feel the nagging tendency for my hip flexors to want to take over, and there they just did, right? So I'm on the right track. It's not the most glamorous thing to demonstrate, but this is the real glute doping process. Like, I can lie to you guys, we just do this once and you're amazing. No, it becomes part of your practice. But now as I move into my 30 reps, because I have 20, 30% more kind of feeling and control in this back part, right where the chamois kind of hits the cheek, that's where I want to get my activation power from. So if I was going to keep doing this, I'll knock out another 30 reps on this side, another 30 reps on the other side, and get back on my bike and do another 5-10 minutes of trying to keep my glutes the same amount of dominant into the ride. So I do these kinds of test, retest, glute dope, get back on the bike, adjust my technique, do this whenever I have like a 1 hour kind of active recovery ride or zone 1-2 endurance ride on Zwift or something, because I can put on the erg mode on the smart trainer. I can put on a cadence that I know I'm sucking at right now. So if you're following the whole video, around 90, kind of was 95. It was hard for me to like keep the glutes dominant. It didn't really like settle into my like real fast crit racing rhythm. So now if I was gonna get real tactical about my practice, my training, I take the workout I was already gonna do. No extra time added, no extra effort, just a change of perspective and focus on getting the glutes dominant, knowing and staying aware of when they start to move out of alignment. You kind of shepherd them back in with a little bit of core tuck, and then you start to bat a percentage. If you know at 85 RPM, you do about 5,000 pedal strokes in 1 hour of riding, try to get all 5,000 to be glute dominant, piston driven, fantastic technique on great deep core breathing, fully into your lungs, through your nose, and have the perceived exertion be so easy that you start to realize I'm getting more efficient. The same 200 watts is easy. The glutes feel like they're doing all of it. My breathing's perceivably less intense, and this is a lot more enjoyable. Those are the signs and symptoms you show up with when your fitness curve, right? So that power curve and how well you can fuel it has shifted a little to the right, just a little. And you can physically feel these kind of shifts, right? 12 miles an hour used to be hard to average. Now, with one hand on a coffee, you're like, oh, I averaged 13. I think I'm just fundamentally getting better. So you can do that from just mindlessly riding miles forever and years on end, which will get you somewhat better. Don't lie, you will get somewhat better. But if you put the time now and then blend it into your lifestyle forever as a glute doper trained cyclist, right? Well, now you don't have those problems. You're building your motor, your cardiovascular system's ability to generate energy. That's all it is, energy. I got a lot of energy, like it's obvious. I don't have a lot of power transmission. Power transmission. So don't get duped into thinking all of your gains and everything you need for this winter and next season is purely going to come from the motor. All things equal, you didn't make any aerobic gains at all. But your technique had a huge shift where by default, rain, shine, or whenever, your body generated power the right way every time. then your breakthroughs in the ability to access whatever aerobic motor you have vastly increase the versatility of your riding, and you're just better. When I was racing, I did win a few things. Here's my, right? I'm not the fastest sprinter. I don't have the best endurance. I don't have the longest effort. My VO2 is only 62 milliliters per kilogram per minute. 62 is not great. So how am I able to get some of these power numbers out of this little body? We'll end with this, and we'll teach it the next time we do a live training like this, which is you got to master your 6. Okay, one time I only did 5. It was embarrassing. 6 core cycling techniques. So they are simply hands on the hoods, hands on the drops position. If your cadence is high, if your cadence is low, those are the 2 variables. And the last one is standing or sitting. So we'll end with that. Here I am sitting, I am high cadence, I'm hands on the hoods. I'm generating 150 watts. All right, so that's technique 1. Same thing, all equal. I drop the cadence all the way down to 50. I'm still doing the same 150 watts, right? Now, if I move my hands to the drops, kick this back up to high cadence again, still 150 watts. I'm not going to stand because there's not a lot of room in here. I've gone this long without crashing, and Gary already put his phone away. So if you stand, hands on hoods, hands on drops, high cadence or low cadence, if you study them, they are 6 independently different ways to generate the same power output. So last time I checked, it's speed that got you across the finish line, not power. Not power, it's speed. So all you need to learn how to do is learn what power you can generate and stop trying to worry about getting more of it. Everyone's around, oh, more power. You know what you need? 6 ways to use the same power repeatedly. Because the dude who can only use the one power the one way for a long time runs out. And you, because you're training glute can go, well, I've still got standing high cadence on the hoods, seated low cadence in the, I've still got 3 other techniques I can generate power that prioritize different muscle groups and rest different muscle groups. Quick example, crit racing days, trying to close the gap from the main group of 50 that's not winning and the 10 up the road that is winning. True story. I've got to get across. Well, I want to get across and stay there, not get across and, hey, you guys are doing great, and then get dropped. I want to stay there. So to get across, it's full sprint, go. Quads are on fire, I'm blowing it up. This gives me the speed. I quickly settle into hands in the drops. Hold on. Hands in arrow hoods, if we're going to be real technical. Arrow hoods, high cadence, keeping the speed up, right? And as I'm keeping the high cadence and my quads are burning out, they're burning out, I shift the cadence down. Big old gear. I'm already at top speed. Push the glutes, and close in that gap. I just want to get myself within striking distance to do one more sprint to get on with the group. So that's a sprint, a drive, and a sprint to close the gap. The sprints require a lot of high heart rate, high hip flexor, high quad, high hamstring, burn, and it gets your heart rate jacked. But it's the quickest way to get your speed up. It's the middle part that people mess up. They sprint big to attack the bridge. They don't know how to biomechanically and metabolically get really efficient while maintaining the high average speed and recover both the quad, hip flexor, hamstring complex for sprinting again, and get the heart rate reserve back down to jump for another 10-second effort. If you understood what I just said and learned that technique, you don't need more power. You don't. You need the same 600 watt jump, 300 watt drive, 600 watt jump. Done correctly and done with a speedometer, so you see how the energy increases your speed and then how you can keep your speed high but keep your power low. And as it drops, get one more punch across. That's how you don't need more power. We'll dive into that one way more next year because it's like December. But that's the kind of stuff we work on here in the glute doping lab. It's not just, oh, doc, my knee hurts and I wish to return to my lifestyle of lots of effort, low return on performance, pain-filled, fragile cycling. I'm like, that's not what we do here. We apply glute doping, which is you have to learn a little bit about how your body works. You learn this stuff. And because you learn it, you can access pathways to generate power, techniques to recover faster, and overall strategies to increase your performance that are sustainable. What we say in glute doping is daily over decades. So for the glute dopers that are on the call, please keep up with your daily mobility. It's supposed to be daily. Don't skip because you feel good. You'll end up like me. Pre-ride activation. If you're going for a ride, do not skip it, especially this time of year. Most of us think, well, I'm doing an easy ride and got to activate. Because you're doing an easy ride, you need to activate twice as much because we're trying to make your body maximally energy efficient as an endurance athlete, like a world-class marathoner, like super efficient. But the challenge of cycling is you also have to have, maintain, and train the top end accelerated power side of your profile. So we're all going to have this. But that's why cycling is such a wonderfully unique sport, is like you can be someone that just goes long, slow distance and who can also sprint 1,000 watts. That's a wonderful opportunity for you. So if that's you and you want to learn more and you're on Instagram, you can message me, follow our content, go to the links in our bio and click on them. They're for you. They're all free unless you want to move into the place where you buy stuff like our do-it-yourself program. Oh my God, it works. Someone messaged me the other day. They had a knee pain problem and they called some local PT guy and they said, one, glute doping doesn't work. Do my like $1,700 PT program. He's like, I don't know about that. He pulled out from 3 years ago our do-it-yourself program that was like less than $300. And he said, in 4 weeks of just doing the restore phase, just these 2 exercises, by the way, knee pain gone, left glute firing up again. And I was like, well, hallelujah, because that would suck if you had to dump in $1,700 for a problem that you already paid for the solution. That would suck. I'd be pissed off too. But that's what we have there. So if you feel like something connected with you on the live call today, hey, I disagree with that. We're on a conversation, message me. Hey, that's me. Tell me more. Message me. Hey, I think you can help me fix my technique problem, my painful problem. Hey, I'm a rider of high performance who has no pain or problems, but I want to get better. We also do that here. We have Olympian and World Tour experience, and some of their jerseys are hanging up here, and most of them are still in boxes. But the point is, whether you're just trying to make your coffee rides consistently for the next decade because that's where your friends are at, or you're on the other end where your career is on the line and you need to make sure your body is reliable, powerful, glute doping is the way to go. It's time tested. It's proven out across a decade, across a couple of thousand riders on every continent except Antarctica. And we're going to work on that soon. So I'm going to head out now. Gary, thank you, brother, for attending the Glute Doping Lab on School. Instagram folk, I love you guys. I appreciate you all too. If you liked this longer form of teaching content, you can always let us know. We're trying to do some more of this stuff because in today's world, there's so many quick, loud, fast messages. We want to bring you high quality content that's super valuable and enriches you and it transforms your riding life. So until next time, it's Dr. Timothy Wu, the Glute Doper Doc here. God bless you. I hope you're well. Blessings over your life. And if you are in pain, there's hope. Send us a message. Gary, I'll see you later soon. I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm feeling better too. Voice is finally coming back, man. We're going to make it to Saturday. We're going to sing. We're going to worship just fine. All right. I'll see you later, Instagram. Bye, Gary and Glute Doping Lab. I'll see you later.